What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today we are going to discuss Bacon's Rebellion. Why? Because the wealthy are slick, man, and the ruling class has been using different tools and different tricks to divide up working people for hundreds of years. And many will draw its root in the aftermath of Bacon's Rebellion, which happened in 1676. Now, I don't know how many of y'all know about Bacon's Rebellion, but what's interesting about Bacon's Rebellion is that it was an uprising wherein indentured servants, white indentured servants, and black indentured servants and African slaves all joined in cause to fight for Bacon, under the promise that they would be freed if they won. So these were folks that came together under a common cause to gain their freedom. They were all working in the same harsh conditions in the fields, with the tobacco fields and all that stuff. They were all working side by side in harsh conditions, and they united in fighting back against the colonists. And make no mistake, Bacon wasn't this great guy. The point of this story isn't, oh, Bacon was amazing. The point of the story is that working people got together and fought the ruling class and won. And what happened after that was the ruling class was shaken to its foundational core. And they created the notion of white and black as a way to divide the working folks. They even ended indentured servitude, which was, you came over here, you worked 7 years for the person that paid for your travel, and then at the end of the 7 years, you got a promise of land and you were able to go off and do your own thing. They ended that process when they saw this rebellion, and they saw what happens when working people, a class of people, unite. So let's dive in real quick. Bacon's Rebellion. What happened in the aftermath of Bacon's Rebellion that is so important and something that we should think about today? Because white nationalism and all this stuff, all this racism stuff, it's a tool that is used, and it's something that was created to divide working folks. It was created to manipulate people and get them to fight amongst themselves so that they never join up again. Remember, this happened in 1676. Bacon's Rebellion led to intensified racial slavery and harder laws against Native Americans, while also consolidating the power of the Eastern planter elite and reducing indentured servitude. Alarmed by the alliance of poor whites and enslaved or free black people during the rebellion, Virginia's leaders created a system of permanent hereditary chattel slavery for black people to divide the labor force and prevent future uprisings, fundamentally shifting Virginia's labor and racial policies. Following the rebellion, the Virginia elite sought a more stable and controllable labor source, leading to a sharp increase in the importation of African slaves and the codification of slavery as a hereditary condition. Another thing that happened was the slave patrol was created, and basically that secondary class, another reason to look down your nose at another working person. As colonial leaders moved away from indentured servants, the practice of indentured servitude declined. Consolidation of Eastern elites. The planter elite in Eastern Virginia, who had suppressed the rebellion, consolidated all of their power. The colonial government pursued more aggressive and harsh policies towards Native Americans in the aftermath of the rebellion. The rebellion exposed and ultimately exacerbated social inequalities within the colony. Like I said, it created a harsh division. The growing reliance on race-based slavery served to separate the enslaved black population from poor whites, fostering a sense of racial unity among the white colonists across class lines and reducing the likelihood of future class-based rebellions. Laws began to clearly define racial lines separating white and black inhabitants and creating a legal framework for white privilege and black subjugation. These were all things that happened as a result of this harmony amongst the working people to overthrow the elite. So I need you guys to think big picture, understand who it is that is stealing the wealth, stealing the profits that we create with our labor and keeping it for themselves. I need you to understand that income inequality is at the highest levels it's ever been. I need you to understand that workers' rights are gone. This new administration doesn't want to hear anything about workers' rights. I need us to come to an understanding of where we are in time. We are in the moments when we are going to need to consider what we're doing moving forward to change things, because we're headed off the cliff, and we need to pull back. We need to pull the reins on this thing and solve this issue. In my view, general strike is long overdue. It would bring the economy to a halt. It would make wealthy people crap their pants, and it would provide leverage to working folks. That's my view. But it's going to take more than just a few dozen folks who think this is the right course of action. It's going to take a critical mass. Wakey, wakey. Y'all please remember that the fight is not left and right. It never has been. The fight has always been up and down. And it's going to take solidarity to win always. Each one teach one. Get out there and reach one. And please don't forget that there can be no union without you and I front and center. So let's go. Peace.